Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 478, Your Victory Over Irreverence, Part 1. The Power of Reverence and a Heart of Understanding. The podcast objectives are analyze why you must remove every trace of irreverence, analyze the primary illustration of reverence in your quest, and reveal why many do not hear from Elohim. To remove every trace of lawlessness. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to day 334 of our exposition of lawlessness. In the most recent podcast, we analyze the focal degree of the fear of Elohim. Enter reverence. And now I must move forward with my current remit. To wit, I must continue to show you how the 3 degrees of the fear of Elohim eliminate the 3 degrees of prejudice vis-a-vis the war between reverence and irreverence. We should start by considering the table to the right, recapping what we have learned about reverence. The primary objective of reverence is to honor Elohim and every aspect of his great creation appropriately. By definition, reverence is a feeling of deep respect, veneration, the state of being revered, honored, or esteemed. Now, the path you must follow to defeat the spirit of irreverence can be easily ascertained by the definition and the primary objective of reverence. Consider this. Whereas reverence inspires you to honor Elohim and every aspect of his great creation appropriately, irreverence causes you to dishonor Elohim and his great creation. Now, if you recall, the spiritual virus of irreverence is designed to corrupt the sensory region of your spiritual heart. In doing so, it not only prevents the spiritual data points of an informed thought from entering your heart, but it also uses the creativity zone of your spiritual heart to transact great evil as opposed to the greater good. You can see this by observing the diagram below. To wit, the sensory region of your right complex has been compromised by irreverence. Notwithstanding, irreverence is in the same boat amorality was in during his war with spiritual values. To wit, he lost his power source. Remember, honesty put the beat down on the ruach of self, and then she put that imposter on the run. Ergo, the spirit of irreverence is weakened, and he was becoming weaker as you carried on your campaign against amorality. And thus, the following is true. Although irreverence is one of the most insidious and deadliest degrees of lawlessness, he will become extremely weak by the time you go to battle with him, if you follow the linear model of holiness. Now, that said, the most difficult aspect of your battle with irreverence will be sifting through your heart to remove every trace of lawlessness by the power of purification. That's the key, my friends. Vis-a-vis, you must remember how every trace of lawlessness leaves a guilty stain. And so you cannot be content with obtaining a victory. Quite the contrary. You, my friend, must establish rule, and you must reign. And to reign, you must rid yourself of every trace of lawlessness. Give me a heart of understanding. Now, historically speaking, this development mirrors the work of many good kings who saved the former nation from idolatry. No doubt, idolatry is a crucial sin which prevented the former nation from reigning over the nations around them. Alas, because of their malignant penchant for idolatry, they routinely served other nations because they were foolishly serving their false gods. Second Chronicles 14, 2 through 5. And Asa did what was good and what was right in the eyes of Yahuwah, his Elohim, and removed the altars of strange gods and the high places. And he broke down the pillars and cut down the Asherim, and commanded Yehudah to seek Yahuwah, Elohim of their fathers, and to do the Torah and the command. And he removed the high places and the sun pillars from all the cities of Yehudah, and the rain rested under him. Now, the key takeaway from this passage is sure. Vis-a-vis, Asa did not execute an incomplete work. Quite the contrary, he executed a complete work. To wit, he eliminated every aspect of idol worship from his reign. And then he commanded the people to seek Yahuwah, Elohim of their fathers, and to do the Torah and the command. And when his vision came to pass, the rain rested under King Asa. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, Yahuwah is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Ergo, the only way we will reign over lawlessness and rest in his set apart spirit is by executing a complete work and getting rid of every trace of lawlessness. We know this because lawlessness leads to sin. And with regards to the fear of Elohim, it leads to idolatry, which is an evolution of immorality, irreverence, and blasphemy. And thus, the following is true. Anyone who is infected with immorality, irreverence, and blasphemy is engaging to some degree in the sin of idolatry. My dear friends, you must believe me. Operating in the sin of idolatry is not something you want to do. For when you engage in idolatry, you are breaking the Torah and the command. I believe the colloquial phrase is double trouble. Trust me, you don't want that trouble. And yet, many are lining up for it for the simple but dangerous fact that they don't want to eliminate every trace of lawlessness. To wit, they don't want to execute a complete work. Now, I said it before, and I'll say it again. You will receive no spiritual credit for an incomplete spiritual work. The reason why is sure, vis-a-vis, an incomplete spiritual work does not eliminate all the degrees of lawlessness that are destroying your soul. In the case of irreverence, an incomplete spiritual work prevents you from unlocking the primary illustration of reverence in your quest. And as it is such a crucial illustration, I will offer it as a revelation. The primary illustration of reverence is a heart of understanding. Now, we first touched on this matter in End Times 405, an overview of the heart, part 2, which was posted on January 17th, 2025. In that podcast, we analyze how the heart is designed to analyze informed thoughts originating from your mind. No doubt, this is how your heart achieves understanding. For where there is no understanding, there can be no alignment between the heart and the mind. And where there is no alignment between the heart and the mind, there can be no informed intent. And where there is no informed intent, we cannot succeed in our execution of the Father's will. Alas, there would only be chaos, which is the primary descriptor of the heart of prejudice and contempt. And where there is contempt, there can be no understanding. Psalm 49:3 is revealing. My mouth speaks wisdom, and the meditation of my heart brings understanding. Proverb 2:1-5. My son, if you accept my words and treasure up my commands with you, so that you make your ear to attend wisdom, incline your heart to understanding. For if you cry for discernment, lift up your voice for understanding. If you seek her as silver and search for her as hidden treasures, then you would understand the fear of Yahuwah and find the knowledge of Elohim. Now, there are two primary takeaways from these passages that are germane to this discussion. First and foremost, they confirm the spiritual process in which the heart achieves understanding. Vis-a-vis, it begins in the mind and it is achieved in the heart. Secondly, Proverbs makes this one thing clear. Vis-a-vis, the one who achieves understanding in the heart will obtain the fear of Elohim. And reverence, my friends, is the focal degree of the fear of Elohim. Ergo, reverence is the interval in your quest where your heart achieves understanding. To wit, you unlock the power required for you to understand the Father's will. All you need now is knowledge, which you will have. Remember, knowledge is the degree of holiness that follows reverential fear. You can see this by observing the diagram to the left. To wit, the fear of Elohim is the beginning of knowledge. Proverb 1:7, the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Now, I have said it before, and I will say it again. I encourage everyone, everywhere, when you pray, from the start, say, give me a mind to do your will, O Elohim, and give me an understanding heart. Selah. Why many don't hear from Elohim. Now, as reverence is the interval in your quest where your heart achieves understanding, I have been led to designate reverence as the eyes of your heart. I make this conclusion from the aforementioned process by which we achieve understanding. Ephesians 1:15-23 is revealing, I do not cease giving thanks for you, making mention of you in my prayers, that the Elohim of our Master, Yahushua Messiah, the Father of esteem, would give you a spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of him, the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, so that you know what is the hope of his calling, and what are the riches of the esteem of his inheritance in the set apart ones. Now, the key phrase in this passage is the eyes of your understanding. Notwithstanding, in some Bibles, The eyes of your heart is used in this verse. The following treasure box reveals why. The original text used the word thought in place of understanding. Notwithstanding, the implication of thought is that of understanding, to wit, the evolution of an informed thought. Here lies the inflection and the treasure, vis-a-vis the evolution of an informed thought begins in your mind, but it is accomplished within the heart. To wit, understanding begins in the mind via the formulation of an informed thought, and yet it does not stop there. Quite the contrary, the informed thought is transferred from your mind into your heart, where it becomes an informed intention. And remember, where there is no intention, there can be no understanding. For a thought without intent has no value. This is why many Bible dictionaries define understanding as a disposition of the mind and the heart. In like manner, they also make the connection between understanding, intentions, depth, desire, feelings, and affection. And all these matters, my friends, are matters of the heart. Now, I said all of that to harden the reality that the eyes of your heart are the primary illustration of reverence. Ergo, it is by reverence that your heart achieves understanding, which is crucial in your victory over irreverence and the spiritual disease of prejudice. Not only this, but it is so crucial that we don't have time to discuss it in this podcast. And so we, my friend, will table this discussion and pick it back up in 2 days. Yahuwah bless you until then. Now, here is the final word. The only way to do what Yahuwah is commanding is by giving your heart to receive understanding. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, this may very well be the most important lesson we have taught thus far in this exposition of lawlessness. Think about that. We have almost completed a full calendar year of 3 podcasts each week, nearly 150 lessons. And this may very well be the most important one of them all. Why? It's because you have no potential of ever succeeding in your execution of Yahuwah's will if your heart does not achieve understanding. Remember, salvation is not in hearing the word. Quite the contrary. Salvation lies in doing the word. And you cannot do the word if you don't understand the will of Elohim. Now, this goes back to an inflection point I shared earlier in this series. To wit, Yahuwah will not reveal his will to you if you do not reverence him. For reverence is the key that unlocks the power of worship, which allows us to operate in spirit and in truth. In doing so, reverence as the focal degree of the fear of Elohim is the key to unlocking the will of Elohim. For look, listen, it has been written, the secret of Yahuwah is with those who fear him, and he makes his covenant known to them. Heretofore, I recommend, if you are at any time struggling to understand Yahuwah's will, there is one thing you should do. Ensure your heart is filled with reverence and wait until he makes his will known to you. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on all the lessons you have heard this week and ask the Father to give you clarity on anything you are struggling to receive. And if you are led, please feel free to reach out to me. You can fill out a form on our website and let us know what questions you have. And remember, the only question that can truly hurt you is the one you fail to ask. Last but not least, enjoy the upcoming Shabbat and the weekend, and be ready to get back at it next week as we continue to make our calling and election sure in pursuit of the precious and priceless seal of Elohim. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 478, Your Victory Over Irreverence, Part 1. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 479, Your Victory Over Irreverence, Part 2. I will post this podcast on Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. Continue to watch. Continue to pray. Continue in fasting. And most of all, continue to be focused. For the end is coming. The end is near.